Hey everyone! Over a year ago I posted a video seeing what would be the minimum number of battles required to beat Pokemon Shield. And I've been wanting to do the same thing with the Generation 9 games since they released, and I finally found the time to do it, so here we are. It's the same challenge, but this time we're doing it in Pokemon Scarlet. And we want to answer the question, what is the absolute lowest number of battles required to beat this game? So let's talk about the rules and then we'll jump into it. The big one, we're going to skip every battle that can be skipped. So unless a battle is required to progress in the game, we're not doing it. We're avoiding combat whenever we can. We're using the set mode in battle, but because the Gen 9 games kinda suck, they don't actually have a set mode. So instead, every time we knock out a Pokemon and the game asks us if we want to switch into a new Pokemon, we have to say no. We're only using held items in battle, with a couple of exceptions that I'll talk about in a moment, and we won't be using the breeding mechanic to give us any more Pokemon. Alright, so the first question, what counts as a battle? Any encounter with a Pokemon where we don't immediately run away. Whether it's a trainer battle or a wild Pokemon, if we do anything other than run or throw a Pokédoll, that counts as a battle. Now, Pokédolls relate to rule number 3. They're an item you can use that will guarantee you can flee from a wild Pokemon. Now, since this game is open world and we'll probably end up encountering Pokemon that are a much higher level than us, it means our Pokemon may be slower than the wild one. And in that situation, you are not guaranteed to be able to escape the battle when you try to run away, unless you use a Pokédoll. They guarantee that you'll be able to escape. And so whether we run away normally, or if we use a Pokédoll to do it, the result is the same. As long as we do it on the first turn, we don't count that as a battle. So it's only a battle if we are actually engaging with the opponent Pokemon. So with that out of the way, we have our first major decision of the game, and it's probably the most important one in the whole run. Which starter are we going to use? And I opt for Fuecoco. He has the type advantage against the first 2 gym leaders, and I think he'll make the early game much easier than the other 2. So once we have our Fire Crocodile, it's time for our first battle. This one's against our rival Nemona, and she will always pick the Pokemon that has a type weakness to ours. And for that reason, this is quite a straightforward victory. Then very shortly after this one, we have battle number 2, which is the catching tutorial with Lechonk. Now I do try to run away from this battle to avoid it, but the game won't actually let me. We're stuck here, so this is battle number 2. And here I do use a Pokeball, and this is the second exception to rule number 3 that I mentioned before. See, once we're forced to battle a wild Pokemon, it doesn't matter if we catch it or if we knock it out. It still counts as a battle. So given that we have to engage this thing and that it is going to count as a battle, we might as well catch it and add a second member to our team. Now normally in the wild, if we come across a Pokemon, we'll just run away from it straight away. But like I said, the game won't allow us to do that for this encounter, so we are forced to fight this thing. And once that's done, we now have our team. Yeah, this Fuecoco and Lechonk are going to be the only 2 Pokemon we have access to for a very, very long time. And that's one of the things that I'm expecting is going to make this challenge a lot more difficult in Scarlet over Shield version. If you watched my Shield video, you'll remember we had access to quite a few gift Pokemon that we could obtain without battling. But not so in Gen 9. There's almost no gift Pokemon to be had. And referring to that rule number 4, I think Fuecoco and Lechonk can be bred together, assuming you have different genders. So we could in theory add more Pokemon to our team that way by breeding more eggs. But I don't like using the breeding mechanics in these runs. They can often make the challenge much more trivial than it would otherwise be. So I decided getting more Pokemon through eggs is off limits. And that is consistent with how I did the Pokemon Shield run as well. We didn't use the daycare in that game. And even more than that, JRose11 is the YouTuber who inspired me to try these types of challenges. He never allows the daycare either, so we're being consistent there too. Anyway, we proceed with the story and we have this scripted battle with a Houndoom inside of a cave. Now, even though we can't really do anything, I'm still going to count this as a battle. The game is forcing us to choose the battle option and it won't let us run away, so for our purposes, it does technically count as a fight. Once we're out of the cave, battle number 4 is our first encounter with Arven, and this is another easy victory for Fuecoco. Nothing has challenged us so far. But that is going to change sooner than you might think. See, as we finally get into an open area and we've kind of finished the tutorial and can actually play the game, there's a big change in the Gen 9 games versus older Pokemon titles that immediately becomes apparent. And you'll see it here. As we run past the nearby trainers, they don't challenge us to fight. In older games, if a trainer got a glimpse of you, they would challenge you to a battle. But not so in this game. The only way to engage a regular trainer in battle is to walk up to them and initiate dialogue. Now obviously we don't have to do that, we can just walk right past them. And that means every single regular trainer in the overworld can be skipped. And I think that is a first for the Pokemon franchise, at least the mainline games. Now this is great for our number of battles, it's going to keep it down, but it's really bad when it comes to XP. All the experience points those trainers would provide to us to help level up our Pokemon is going to be lost. And this is the second reason why I'm thinking this challenge is going to be much more difficult than it was in Pokemon Shield. And the problem becomes immediately apparent. The game expects us to have caught some wild Pokemon and battled some trainers. Both of these activities provide XP, but since we have to avoid those things whenever we can, we haven't leveled up at all since Arven. So our Pokemon are lower leveled than Nemona's when she forces us into a rematch. And yes, this one is mandatory. We cannot get to the next area without going through Nemona. And as if the lower level wasn't bad enough, she terastallizes her Pawmi, and this will increase the power of any electric attacks that it uses, so it is just doing way too much damage to us. Now I'm not sure if you have to actually beat her in order to progress the story. I've heard that you don't, that if you lose, the game will still let you continue forward. Now, I'm not sure if that's true, I haven't tried it myself, but even if it is true, we still want to win this battle if we can. Losing means that we're going to miss out on XP, and as you've probably guessed by now, XP is going to be a problem in this run, so we want as much of it as we can get our hands on. I try to beat her a couple of times, trying different strategies, like starting with Lechonk and saving Fuecoco for the Pawmi, but nothing is working. That Pawmi is an absolute beast. It is just wrecking our team. So we head off to explore the area. We may not be able to battle, but that doesn't stop us looking around for any useful loot. And even though this is an early game area, I come across a couple of things that might help. Firstly, we can craft the TM for Mud Slap. Now this is a ground move that'll be super effective against Pawmi, but in addition to that, it also lowers accuracy, so there's a chance that Pawmi will miss with its attacks. We've also picked up a few XP candies, so I use those to bump our level up, and let's just see if these things help at all. We start with Lechonk just to knock off as much of Sprigatito's HP as possible, and poor old Lechonk doesn't last long, so then we send in Fuecoco. And I was hoping that with the damage Lechonk did, Fuecoco would be able to one-shot this thing, but he can't, so losing Lechonk there was a bit of a waste. We would have been better off leaving him out of battle so he could have avoided getting KO'd and then still collected some XP. As for the Pawmi, we do decent damage, but that was a crit. It's going to knock us out first since it's doing more damage, so we really just have to hope those accuracy drops come through for us. We need this thing to miss with its attack so we don't take that damage. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens. Just as our HP is almost gone, the Pawmi misses its attack. This gives us the opportunity we need to knock it out. And that was our first real challenge in the run. But I assure you, it's not going to be the last. So with that encounter done, we can now head into the city where we have a couple of battles against some Team Star grunts, and we can finally terrestrialize ourselves, which is very nice. And yeah, these grunts, they prove no real challenge for us at all. We destroy them. And then we head into the school, and there is an absolutely ridiculous amount of story content here, and all of it is really boring. There's no battles, there's nothing interesting, we just have to get through it. And eventually we do, and now we can actually play the game properly. Yeah, we've reached the open world, and there's basically 3 different paths in this game. There's 8 gym leaders, as fans of the franchise would expect. Then there's also 5 Titan Pokemon to hunt down, as well as 5 Team Star bases that we're going to have to defeat. So 18 events before we can head into the end game, and yes, we want to complete all 18 of them for this challenge. This run isn't over until the end credits roll, or we fail spectacularly. So let's see how we go. First up, I decide to hit the first gym leader since, like I said earlier, we have the type advantage. She's a bug type trainer, and that's going to be good for our fire boy Fuecoco. Now her gym challenge does involve some trainers, but you can actually skip them. The challenge is to navigate a giant oil seed into a giant basket. Yeah, this game is weird sometimes. But we can actually maneuver the seed around the trainers and avoid all of them. And that makes our next battle with the gym leader herself, Katy. Now we terrestrialize immediately, and you'll see me do this for most important battles. Terrestrializing gives us a 50% boost to our fire type attacks, and Fuecoco is gonna have to handle most battles on his own in order to maximize the XP that he gets. So we might as well use that power boost to maximum effect. It will last the entire battle or until Fuecoco gets knocked out, so there's no reason not to use it early. In most circumstances anyway. And the thing that you will notice here is that we're already under-leveled for this fight. Get used to that, it's going to be a recurring problem in this run. So Katy's first Pokemon aren't a big deal, we can take them out pretty easily, but you'll see here her third Pokemon is Teddiursa. Now Teddiursa is a normal type, but she'll actually terrestrialize it into a bug type. Now this does give it all the advantages of being a bug type, such as 50% extra damage on bug type moves due to having stab, but it also gives it all the weaknesses of bug type, such as being weak to fire. And the other thing to note about terrestrializing is that even though it's a bug type now, it keeps its 50% stab for normal moves as well. And for those who don't know what stab is, just means same type attack bonus. So a normal type Pokemon using a normal move will do more damage with it than a fire type Pokemon using the same move, as an example. Now we get really unlucky with Fury Swipes hitting 4 times. This move is one that hits between 2 and 5, so we got really bad luck that it hit us that much. And that's what ultimately does us in. We've lost too much HP, and we end up going down. And a big problem here is that Teddiursa is outspeeding us. Because its speed stat is higher, it gets to attack first. Now I had never played with Fuecoco before this run, and I didn't realise just how slow it is. This could be a problem. So I think this one is the 3rd attempt of this battle, and here we get the exact opposite luck with Fury Swipes. The move misses completely, so we get hit 0 times. Very nice. And that miss is clutch. The battle is pretty much over now. We've got enough health to tank through the opponent's attacks, and we come out on top. So that's 1 event down, 17 to go. Next up, I try fighting one of the Titan Pokemon in Klawf, since it's the next weakest in terms of levels. And as you can see, Titan Pokemon are just really big and buffed versions of their regular counterparts. And even though this thing is fairly low level, since it's rock type, which we're weak to, it's hitting us with super effective moves. Now the strat is once again to use Mud Slap to lower its accuracy, and then just hope for some good RNG. But in this case, it's just not working. Even though the Klawf does miss some attacks, eventually it is going to land a blow. And we just don't have the HP required to tank it. This thing is doing huge damage to us. Also, you might notice that Lechonk has been leveling up despite not battling. Just like in Pokemon Shield, Pokemon who don't participate in the battle still get a smaller amount of XP awarded to them. This is really nice for our purposes. Even though we're going to be mostly using Fuecoco, Lechonk is still going to grow stronger. And I tried this battle quite a few times, but I can't even get past its first form. And yeah, it does have a second. So we're going to leave this thing for now. We'll come back later. And that's another big change from the previous generation. Sword and Shield were extremely linear games. Whereas here, it's open world and we have a lot more flexibility with the order we do the battles in. Now because of this, you might see the battle number go up and then go back down. When this happens, it just means I attempted a battle, but I couldn't beat it, so I reloaded the game and decided to come back to it later. And when I do that, I reduce the battle count and then just move on to something else. So I'm thinking maybe Gym Leader number 2, Brassius, is a better match for us. He's the grass type trainer, so once again we have the type advantage. Now this gym challenge is interesting. You have to gather 10 Sunflora and return them to his lackey here. And there's 2 types of Sunflora. The sleeping ones you can just talk to and they'll follow you, but the Sunflora who are awake, apparently they won't join you unless you battle them. And I didn't realise this, so I do end up reloading. We want to see if we can find a 10 sleeping Sunflora, because that'll mean that we don't have to battle any of them, and our battle count will be as low as possible. And I actually managed to do this pretty easily, so it seems like there's a lot more Sunflora than the 10 that you need hanging around the area. So once again, no extra battles from the gym challenge. That's really nice. Alright, so the new battle number 9 in Brassius. Now once again we're gonna terrestrialize to maximize our damage output, and things immediately go badly as his Petalil, if I'm saying that correctly, it puts us to sleep. It then begins draining our health to restore its own HP. Now when we finally wake up we can finish Petalil off, but we're down to about half HP. His next Pokemon, Smoliv, I have no idea how to pronounce these things, but it can't really do much to us. It lands a tackle, but it doesn't inflict much damage, we just wipe it out. Then Brassius sends out his ace, Sudowoodo. Now again, this thing isn't grass type, it's actually a rock type, but Brassius terrestrializes it into a grass Pokemon. And even though it has the grass type, the problem here is that it still knows rock moves. You know, those rock moves that are super effective against us. So our poor Fuecoco goes down real fast. And I did try this battle multiple times, but it's no good. We had way more health the second time we made it to Sudowoodo. I used a sleep curing berry to wake Fuecoco up instantly on the Petalil, but even when we're on full health, Sudowoodo still obliterates us. I see no path to victory with this fight right now. And at this point, I'm kind of stuck. And it really didn't take long for that to happen, did it? Klawf is too powerful, Brassius is too powerful, so what does that leave? How about a Team Star base? Well, ignoring the fact that even the lowest level base is still far too powerful for our Pokemon, there's actually a bigger problem. You need 3 Pokemon to even attempt a Team Star base. And that does relate to the number of auto battles that you can see on the screen, which I'll talk about later. But for right now, we only have Fuecoco and Lechonk, so we are locked out of the bases. So it's not sounding great, but we're not actually out of options just yet. See, there's an item in the world I think might come in useful. Now, it's a long way away, but like I said, the game is open world, and as long as we have the patience for it, we can travel almost anywhere on the map. So off we go, it's time for a treasure hunt. We set off on our journey, and while we're on our way there, I actually stumble across another really useful item. I had no idea this one was here, it was just pure luck that we came across it. But it's going to come in very handy indeed. It's the TM for Flamethrower. Now up until now we've been using Ember as our main attack, a 40 base damage special attacking move. Flamethrower is a 90 base damage special attack, over twice as powerful. Now this is normally a late game move, but we've found the TM, so we have access to it right now. This is going to turn Brassius' Petilil and Smoliv into easy one-shots. So now the only thing left to worry about is the Sudowoodo. But before that, let's focus on the item that I actually came all the way here for. In Medali, whatever, we can find the leftovers. This will allow us to regain 1/16 of our HP every turn. In addition, I also teach Fuecoco the move Protect. I picked up the TM for this a little bit earlier. Now Protect will, like the name says, protect us from damage for a turn. But if you use it twice in a row, it has a 50% chance to fail on the second use, and a 100% chance to fail the third time that you use it in a row. But the idea here is pretty straightforward. Every time we use Protect, that's an extra turn that our leftovers can restore HP. The longer we stall the battle out for, the more health we're gonna recover. And I will admit, I 100% stole this strat from J-Rose. I have no shame admitting that. It's a brilliant idea. However, in this specific instance, it's actually not gonna help us. See, the problem is the Sudowoodo can one-shot us. Now, if we could attack first, maybe we could one-shot it before it could attack, but the situation as it is right now, no amount of stalling to recover HP is gonna help. That thing can destroy us even when we're at full health. So then what's the strat? And I gotta be honest, it's kind of ridiculous. Since the leftovers won't help, and because Flamethrower makes the first 2 Pokemon a guaranteed one-shot, I decide to change our held item. The leftovers aren't going to help, and we don't need the sleep-curing berry since the Petilil doesn't have the chance to put us to sleep. So instead, I equip our little croc with the Quick Claw. Now the Quick Claw has a small chance for our Pokemon to attack first, even if it's slower than the opponent. And I figure this is the only chance we have against the Sudowoodo. Attack first and knock it out before it can do anything to us. Now in a normal challenge, you just level up to increase your speed stat and this would be really easy to do. But obviously for us, that's not an option. So we can easily get rid of the Petilil and the Smoliv, that's fine. And then we're just hoping that the Quick Claw activates. Which it doesn't. Oh dear. But check this out. This time we survive on a single point of HP. So Sudowoodo's Rock Throw isn't a guaranteed one-shot, it's a range. Depending on if it gets a high or low damage roll, we can actually tank this attack. There is a chance we survive it. So we light that sucker up with Flamethrower, but our attack's not a one-shot either. Not even close, in fact. So it seems like this battle is lost. Unless on the second turn the Quick Claw activates and we get to attack first. I think it's a 20% chance of that happening, and we got it. Talk about ups and downs. The end of that battle was ridiculous. But hey, a win's a win. We are taking this one. So with that very unlikely victory under our belt, we're heading back to the Klawf. And I think the leftovers protect stall strategy should work nicely against this thing. It can't one-shot us like the Sudowoodo could, and that makes recovering lost HP much more valuable. Not to mention Flamethrower will be doing a lot more damage than we were with Ember. And sure enough, we finish off its first form pretty easily. Now I save the game and it's time for the second encounter. The Klawf eats some magic herbs and becomes more powerful. You can take away from that whatever message you wish. I thought this was a family-friendly franchise, Nintendo. Anyway, the point is, the Klawf is stronger now, but Arven does join us to make this battle a 2-on-1. I decide to use Mud Slap even though it does a lot less damage. I think the accuracy drop makes it worth it. Every time Klawf misses an attack, that's more HP we're going to recover with leftovers. Now once it loses enough health, its Anger Shell ability activates. Its defensive stats decrease, which is good, that means we're going to do more damage to it, but its other stats increase. So it's going to be faster, and it's going to be doing more damage to us. And if it does land an attack, I imagine big damage is going to be coming our way. Now, thankfully, it misses, and we're able to take the Titan down. Yeah, using Mud Slap was a good idea. So that's 3 events out of 18 complete, with 11 battles under our belt. And I've counted the 2 stages of the Klawf encounter as 2 separate battles, and I'll be doing this for all the Titan Pokemon. We do exit one battle and we enter another for the second phase, so I think that's the most appropriate way to do it. Also, our Fuecoco evolves here, so this is going to make us even stronger, a very nice power boost. So before we challenge Gym Leader number 3, Nemona wants a rematch. She starts with this Rock Ruff, and since Flamethrower is resisted, this thing is yet another rock Pokemon, we do really low damage. I then go for Mud Slap, it does even less damage, but again, it gives us that accuracy drop. We want to avoid getting hit with rock moves whenever possible. Now, I was hoping we'd be able to 2-shot this thing with Flamethrower, but that's not going to happen, so lowering the accuracy I think is the best play. Thanks to a lucky crit, the Rock Ruff goes down sooner than I expected. Now, her Paw Me goes for Dig, but we can block it with Protect. See, Dig is a 2-turn attack, so we can ignore the Protect on the first turn and then use it on the second when it would land. So it actually works out really well for us. Once again, I opt to lower accuracy with Mud Slap, and while I'm doing this, the Paw Me just sits there raising its special defense again and again. So this means it does take longer to knock it out since Flamethrower is doing less damage. But the Paw Me, for whatever reason, doesn't actually attack us again. It just uses Charge over and over. Big brain play from Nemona there. I'm guessing we somehow broke her AI with all those accuracy drops. But again, you know me, I'm going to take it. Her final Pokemon is Florigato. Her starter has also evolved by now, and it does outspeed us, which is becoming a pretty common occurrence at this point. But even so, we have the type advantage, we can take this thing down pretty easily, and it's actually a first try victory against Nemona. As for the third gym itself, well, it doesn't go very well. As in, we can't even get past the gym trainers, let alone the gym leader. And the main problem is we have to face 2 of these lackeys in a row without being able to heal. So the first trainer we can beat, no worries, but we do lose a significant amount of health. So we're already weakened when we get to the second trainer and we just don't last long enough. It's a battle of attrition. And since we're struggling so much with the underlings, the gym leader herself, Iono, is going to be far more powerful than these guys. So I think it's time for a detour. I try my luck at the second Titan Pokemon, Bombirdier, and the problem here is it knows Rock Throw, another rock move, because of course it does. There are so many rock moves in this game. And even better, since Bombirdier is a flying type, it's immune to our ground move Mud Slap, so we cannot lower accuracy. Now, Rock Throw is only 90% accurate to begin with, so it does have a chance to miss just naturally, and we also have the chance that Bombirdier will use a different move. It seems to be kind of random what attacks it goes for. And that's pretty much the whole strat. We're just hoping that either it doesn't use Rock Throw, or if it does, that it misses. Now, we only have to hit Bombirdier twice to drain it of all its HP, so it's not the worst thing in the world. It doesn't take too long for us to beat it. At least the first phase, because of course there's going to be a second. And what's different between Bombirdier and the Klawf is that here, we do not get to heal after the first phase. And needless to say, that makes the fight much more difficult. All that HP we lost in Phase 1, we're not getting it back. Now at first I was thinking the Bombirdier will take turns targeting Arven's Pokemon and then ours, but this doesn't seem to be the case. Seems like it just chooses a target at random. My thinking was that if it did alternate each turn between what Pokemon it attacked, we could use this information to time when we implement Protect. But not to be, and we lose. And after this attempt, man, did things get bad. It took over 20 minutes for me to get back to the second phase. The Bombirdier just kept using Rock Throw and kept hitting. I lost count of how many times this thing wiped us out. It was horrible. Now eventually, after way too long, we finally make it back to the second phase, and I decide to just go all out. I was really frustrated by this point, and I wasn't in the mood to use stall strats. So we just opt for Flamethrower every turn. And sure enough, we're able to take this big stupid bird down. This was by far the most frustrating part of the run up until now. I despise this Pokemon. But now that it's done, it will give us some XP, and the point is we're trying to level up so we can last a bit longer against those Iono goons. And there is another place we can get XP from, and that's the Team Star bases. Yeah, I know, I said we need 3 Pokemon to complete the base. So what am I talking about? Well, it is true, you do need 3 Pokemon to complete the base, but before you begin the base assault, you're required to battle a Team Star Grunt. And for this one battle, we do not need 3 Pokemon. It's just a regular trainer battle. So we can fight this Grunt at the Dark type base, and it's really easy compared to that trash Bombirdier. And after we do that, we can then head over to the Fire type base and we can battle the Grunt over there. Now this one is a bit tougher since they're at a higher level, and they are using a Houndoom, which resists our best move in Flamethrower. It's also a Fire type, obviously. It's the Fire base. And by this stage, you can probably guess what we're going to do. It's time to use Mud Slap. Now this battle does take a few tries, and it's really just a matter of once we lower the accuracy, we're just waiting for some good RNG and the Houndoom to miss. Once that happens, the battle is ours. I think it took 3 attempts, so not too bad. We're not done just yet though. I decide we're going to take on the 3rd Titan Pokemon, Othworm. Now this one is a higher level than even Bombirdier, which we were already underleveled for, but the thing working in our favour here is that Othworm is Steel type, so our Flamethrower is going to be super effective. We will be inflicting massive damage. And yeah, this phase 1 was much easier than the previous Titan. And even better than that, we can heal before the 2nd phase, so that's going to make things much easier. Now once again, Arven is going to help us out. The battle starts off kind of badly when we get flinched by a headbutt, and that causes us to lose our turn. Then I go for Protect while Arven's Toadschool confuses the big boy. We're kind of trolling this thing pretty nicely at this point. And then we get really lucky. Our Flamethrower scores a burn on Othworm. This will not only deduct health from it every turn, it actually reduces Othworm's attack. This thing has a lot of physical attacking moves, and now they're all going to do less damage. And we win this one pretty easily. I think it was a first try. So yeah, night and day versus Bombirdier. So 18 battles in and 5 events have been completed. We're doing pretty well. So with all those extra battles, we've gained plenty of XP and we've leveled up a bit. And because of this, the Iono Stooges are now very easy to defeat. Last time we didn't even make it to their final Pokemon Flaffy, now we eradicate it without issue. And with this victory, Lechonk evolves into Oinkologne. Now we haven't really used him in battle up until now, but that is about to change, so he evolved just in time. Iono uses electric Pokemon, and her first one is Wattrel. It outspeeds us and attacks. Now it doesn't do that much damage, and we can then one-shot it to the Shadow Realm, so no worries with that thing. But next out is Bellibolt. Now I use Protect to get some HP back. We then go for Flamethrower, and it does very little damage. What's even worse is that the Bellibolt knows a water move. That's super effective, and it's going to be a big problem. Seeing how little damage Flamethrower did, I instead opt for Mud Slap to lower the accuracy, and this allows us to survive long enough to take the Bellibolt down. We learn Snarl here, which is a Dark type attacking move. I'm not sure how useful it will be, but it gives us more type coverage, so it might be good to have. Next up, she has a Luxio, and again, we're doing trash damage. We may have been powerful compared to the lackeys, but compared to Iono herself, we're still quite low leveled. So I just keep going for Mud Slap, and I pray to the gods of RNG that Luxio misses enough to keep us in the fight. Sadly, not only does it not miss, it lands a crit for big damage. Our fiery boy is down. Now Oinkologne is far too low level to pull this one off himself, so I just reset the battle here. We didn't even make it to our last Pokemon. And the second attempt goes even worse. This time Crocolaw goes down to the Belly Bolt. We don't even make it to the Luxio. And it's purely because Belly Bolt doesn't miss enough attacks. That's what we need to happen if we're going to win, and clearly the odds are just too low for this strategy to have much success. So we need to go back to the drawing board. And apparently Crocolaw can learn another move. I think he should have actually learnt it already, but I don't recall the game mentioning it. Maybe I just missed it. I don't know. But the point is, he can learn the move Yawn. And Gen 9, as much as it has some really glaring flaws, it also has some awesome features, like Pokemon being able to relearn old moves at any time. Well, any time outside of battle at least. Now you can't learn forgotten TM moves this way, but level up moves that the Pokemon learns naturally are fair game. And like I said, using this feature, Crocolaw can learn Yawn. That's a move that will put our opponent to sleep, but it takes 2 turns to activate. Now that's not great, but with Protect we can turn that delay effectively into only 1 turn instead of 2. So basically the strat is to Yawn and then Protect on the next turn. Once the enemy's asleep, we can use Mud Slap to lower accuracy. This will hopefully give us a couple of free turns to lower the opponent's accuracy. That hopefully means that by the time they do wake up, they're going to have a really difficult time hitting us. And initially, it seems like this strategy is going really well. We reach the Luxio again with almost full health. That hasn't happened before. But things take a turn for the worse when the Luxio paralyzes us. This not only drastically reduces our speed, so it's basically guaranteed that we're going to act last every turn, which is never good, but there's also a 25% chance we won't be able to attack at all on any given turn. Now we are able to make it through the Luxio, but we have almost no HP left. Now what's good is that Protect is a priority move, which means we'll still go first when we use that. But yeah, regular move, we're going second. And all my Protects end up being for naught. Iono terastallizes Mismagius here to an electric type. And the big problem with this is that Mismagius has Levitate as its ability. So Mud Slap, being a ground move, will not work against it. We cannot lower this thing's accuracy. Plus it's moving before us, so it wipes out Crocolaw like it was nothing. We try our best with Oinkologne, but it doesn't go well. We're doing pretty low damage and we get confused, plus the Mismagius is using Charge Beam, which not only damages us, but it raises its special attack each time it uses the move. So that means every turn it's doing even more damage than it was previously. So as you can probably guess, this one is a bit of a beatdown. But it was the best attempt yet, so we are at least making progress. That's a positive. So we need to refine the strat, and I believe there's another TM that may be useful. That TM is Sunny Day. Now Sunny Day is a weather effect that increases the attack power of fire-type moves, as well as decreasing the power of water-type moves. So not only will we be doing more damage, it should help with the Belly Bolt as well. And you're probably thinking that I'm going to teach this to Crocolaw, right? Well, Oinkologne can actually learn Sunny Day too. Now by default, Sunny Day lasts for 5 turns, but by equipping Oinkologne with a Heat Rock, we can actually extend that time to 8 turns. So the play is to start the battle with Oinkologne, use Sunny Day, and then swap out to Crocolaw. We then terastallize in combination with Sunny Day to maximize the power of our fire attacks. And with this, we're doing enough damage to be able to 2-shot the Belly Bolt, not to mention if it does land a water gun on us, we're not going to take as much damage. However, it can still use Spark, and that actually does a decent amount of damage to us. So I opt to use Yawn to put this thing to sleep. My thinking is if we can stall for a few turns, we can recover more HP for the later Pokemon. Now, in retrospect, I'm not sure if this was a good idea. We are on a time limit before Sunny Day will expire. So the more we stall, the less Sunny Day we're going to have to be able to use to our advantage. So I guess we'll see. By the time the Luxio arrives, Sunny Day has worn off. So I decide to swap into Oinkologne again. The Luxio does get to Atticus after the switch, but our chonky boy holds on with a single point of HP. And that's all that we need. We get off the Sunny Day, and on the next turn, we sacrifice him to the Luxio. A noble deed for sure. Let's see if it can get us to the finish line. We can protect again with Crocolaw. Again, this is just giving us more HP. But the problem is the Luxio is still outspeeding us. And we've just lost too much health up until this point, so we still end up losing. So after a couple more attempts, I refine the strategy a little bit. We don't need Sunny Day in order to one-shot the Wattrel, and we want to use Mud Slap against the Bellibolt. Ground moves don't benefit from Sunny Day, so it makes sense to start the fight with Crocolaw. The Wattrel we take out quite easily, and then we repeat the same strategy with the Belly Boy. Put it to sleep and begin an onslaught of Mud Slaps. The big difference here is I don't start with a Flamethrower. I go for the sleep and Mud Slap straight away. And yeah, there's not much to say at this point. We want the Bellibolt to stay asleep. If it does wake up, we'll put it back to sleep. And in the meantime, we're wanting it to miss. And once it starts missing enough and sleeping long enough, our health can gradually recover. We are just trolling this thing into oblivion while we recover our lost HP. And the strat works fairly well. We wipe this thick boy out. Now once Bellibolt is gone, then it's time for Oinkologne. Since he hasn't taken a hit from the Wattrel, he can survive attacks from the Luxio much more easily. And you'll see here I actually opt for Mud Shot first. Now this is different from Mud Slap. This move lowers the opponent's speed rather than their accuracy. And this is key. On the next turn, with the Luxio slowed, Oinkologne will now act first and we can get off a Sunny Day. So slowing down the Luxio here essentially gave us a free attack. And what's even better is that once Crocolaw enters, he's now also going to outspeed the Luxio. That means we're going to get to attack first. And with the damage that Oinkologne did from the Mud Shot, plus the fire buff from Sunny Day, we can wipe out Luxio before it can even touch Crocolaw. We are doing really well here. Alright, Miss Magius is back and the Sunny Day is still in place. So we start using Flamethrower. And we get really lucky here. Not only do we burn the Miss Magius, it fails when it uses Confuse Ray. So we're not confused. Things are really going in our favour. I once again opt for a Protect as the Miss Magius can still do big damage on us. So we want to get that HP back. So things are looking really good for us. Until the next Confuse Ray from the Miss Magius actually works. So Crocolaw is now confused and I'm starting to panic. It's taken me so long to reach this point and victory is in sight. It is so close. We just need to land one more Flamethrower. But if we attack ourselves in confusion, then it's likely we're going to lose the battle. So it's a 50-50 chance whether we make the attack or we hit ourselves. How's it gonna go? Well, Crocolaw comes through for us and we win. This was so difficult. I lost track of how many attempts it took to beat Iono. I don't think it was quite as many as the Bombirdier, but yeah, it was definitely a tricky fight. And I was really proud of myself for the strat I developed. It was just playing the battle, figuring out what's going to work. This was a lot of fun. But you want to know something? As tough as this fight was, things are about to get even worse. And before I even started the run, this next point of the game I was really worried about. There's a decent level jump on all the remaining events, well, at least the ones we can access. I mean, to put it into perspective, the next Titan Pokemon is around level 45, 20 levels higher than our Crocolaw. And the next Gym Leader is around level 30, and he uses water Pokemon, which we're weak to. So I went into this one fully expecting this part of the game to be a brick wall. So what are we going to do? The first thing is some shopping. Once you have 3 gym badges, the Chansey supply store opens. This allows us to buy vitamins to boost our Pokemon stats. I spend all the money we have on Carbos to boost our Crocolore's speed. In Pokemon, being able to attack first is such a huge advantage, so we want to make our slow boy as unslow as we can. It's not going to help with the next battle though. Kofu's lackey has a Floatzel. This thing is a super fast Pokemon and we're never going to outspeed it in a million years. Or will we? I start with Crocolore and use the same strat as the Bellibolt. We put it to sleep as quick as we can and then begin spamming Mud Slap to lower this thing's accuracy. Once we've lowered it enough, I swap into Oinkologne. Our Piggy is fairly bulky, so I start spamming Mud Shot to lower its speed. I'm hoping we can slow it down enough and still survive long enough to get off a sunny day. And you'll see here the Floatzel begins spamming the move Swift. Swift is a move that never misses, so it started using this to avoid the low accuracy that we've inflicted. Now while it's bad that the Floatzel can still hit us every turn, Swift doesn't deal a huge amount of damage, so this is actually not too bad. And once Oinkologne has slowed down the opponent and scored with the Sunny Day, it's time for Crocolore to make his grand return. Even though the Floatzel resists fire moves, having Terastallized and with the Sunny Day, we can still take it out easily. And notice we're attacking first, thanks to all those mud shots. So yeah, Oinkologne is definitely proving to be a valuable member of our team. The lackey's second Pokemon is a Clauncher, and this thing we just stomp into dust. It was actually kind of funny how easy it was to beat this thing after the nightmare that was the Floatzel. It took us 3 attempts to get past that Floatzel. And again, this is just the lackey. Kofu himself is going to be much more difficult. And honestly, I don't even want to talk about Kofu too much. The long story short is that he's just way too powerful. His Pokemon are faster than us, they resist our most powerful move, and they hit really hard even through the Sunny Day. Also, most of them outspeed us, so they get to attack first. Now I did give this battle a couple of tries, but I knew even going into it, victory didn't seem very likely. Having the type disadvantage, in addition to being at a lower level, is just too much of a handicap to overcome. We don't even get to see his final Pokemon because the first 2 just keep destroying us. And so far, you might be noticing a pattern. It seems like we're stuck, but then I find a solution and we progress. And of course, the same thing is going to happen here. We've still got a lot of video to go. Now the first thing I do is take on the Grunt at the next Team Star base, the Poison base. Now that's going to give me some XP, but not nearly enough. We simply need to be at a higher level. Being at a higher level means we'll be faster, we'll take less damage, and we'll deal more damage. Right now, Kofu's Pokemon are just too much for us, and I cannot see any strategy that will allow us to get past him. So how are we going to level up? Well, like I said earlier, normally you'd go and battle other Pokemon, but obviously that's off the table for us. So instead, I'm going to burn through all the XP candies that we've gathered on our journey. Now, rare candies have been around since Generation 1, and they increase our level by 1. It takes more XP to level up as your level gets higher, so you get a lot more value out of your rare candies by saving them until you're at a high level. XP candies, however, were introduced into the franchise a lot later, and they work a bit differently. They just give a set amount of XP. So if we use these early or late, there's not much difference. They're still going to give us the same amount of XP. Now that being said, there is one downside, and it's why I held off using them for as long as possible. It's a pretty minor thing, but see, in early Pokemon games, XP was a set amount. I believe it's based on the HP of the opposing Pokemon, but the point is, say you fight a level 10 Pidgey. It didn't matter if your Pokemon was level 5 or level 50. That Pidgey would still provide you the same amount of XP. In newer games, however, that's not the case. You'll actually gain more XP if your level is lower compared to the opponent's, and you'll gain less XP if your level is higher relative to the opponent. So in current Pokemon games, in that previous example, the level 5 Pokemon would actually gain more XP from the Pidgey than the level 50 Pokemon would. So if we use our XP candies now and we gain a higher level, we'll actually gain less XP in future battles simply by the fact that we're at a higher level. So it is worth it to avoid leveling up if we can. That's why I've held off until now. But at this point, desperate times call for desperate measures. And if we don't gain some more levels, I don't see how we're progressing any further in this challenge. So I don't really think we have much choice. Alright, so we kick things off with Oinkologne, who hasn't leveled up since we used the candies on Crocalor, but he gets off the sunny day, and that's all we really need him to do. And now, behold Crocalor at level 35 instead of level 25. The Veluza is a 2-shot, and we don't take too much damage in return, and I'm not using Protect here. We're just hitting as many flamethrowers as we can while the sunny day is still active. We don't want to lose that power boost, nor do we want to be taking full damage from Kofu's water attacks, so the faster we can end this battle, the better. Anyway, the Wog Trio goes down quite easily as well. We finally make it to Kofu's final Pokemon, which is a Crabominable, if I'm pronouncing that one correctly. It hits us with a massive Crab Hammer, which is honestly the perfect move for this thing to have, and while we do lose a lot of health, we still pull out the victory. Not too much strategy to this one, we just had to brute force our way through it. But hopefully it was interesting in that it demonstrates the difference between being underleveled versus overleveled. Battle number 25 is the 5th gym leader, Larry. Also my favourite gym leader because this guy is my spirit animal. A corporate husk who is pretty much dead inside. I feel you, brother. His first Pokemon is Kamala, which I try to put to sleep, but its ability actually prevents that from happening. And meanwhile, it uses my own strategy against me. It uses Yawn on Crocalor. So I swap out to avoid Crocalor being put to sleep, but as soon as Oinkologne comes in, Kamala just one-shots it. Man, this is brutal. I don't know what to do here, so I restart. We're gonna need a better strategy. So you want to know what galaxy-brained play I come up with? Just brute force him. We Terastallize immediately while the Kamala goes for Yawn. Again, I swap out to Oinkologne. This time the Kamala also goes for Yawn on Oinkologne as we switch in. So that's good, now we just have to survive one more turn. The Kamala goes for Slam, but this time it misses. And that's all we need to hit Sunny Day. Now I probably should have just started with Oinkologne in retrospect. I was hoping Flamethrower was going to do more damage, so it was worth a try, I think. Anyway, Oinkologne's asleep, but we can switch him out, and with the power of Sunny Day, Crocalor can finish the Kamala. Alright, on to Larry's second Pokemon. We actually do good damage on the Dunsparce. I really hate this thing's name, I have no idea how to say it. But anyway, we got bigger problems than pronunciation, as this thing paralyzes Crocalor. So this means Larry's next Pokemon, Staraptor, is gonna outspeed us, and this one's over. Now, if we could avoid the paralysis, we may have a chance, but even then, I'm still not convinced. Larry's Pokemon are quite powerful, and I think we're a little bit outmatched here. And it's at this point that I have a realization. Our Crocalor is very close to reaching level 36, at which point he'll evolve into Skeledirge. Now, not only will evolving give us big boosts to our stats, but Skeledirge is actually part Ghost type, and Ghost Pokemon are completely immune to normal attacks. So I think that's really going to reduce the options that Larry, who is the normal type gym leader, is going to have at his disposal. So once again we head off across the land, and it's not long before I stumble across a couple more XP candies, and I use just enough to get us to level 36. And sure enough, Skeledirge is our reward. But there's something even better about this that I didn't expect, and that's the move Torch Song. I didn't realise we were going to have access to this move. Before the run, I did check out Fuecoco's moveset, but I didn't look at the evolved versions. And let me tell you, Torch Song is amazing. It does a little less damage than Flamethrower, it's only 80 base power instead of 90. But in exchange, it increases our special attack every time we use it. So this move is going to become more powerful with each use, to the point that we will be doing far more damage with this than with Flamethrower. This could be a game changer. So back to Larry, and you'll see that I go for Mud Slap to start things off. This ended up being a mistake, but it's not a big deal. Now Larry is going to use Yawn again. I wanted it to miss, hence why I used Mud Slap, but not to be. Now once I'm asleep, something really interesting happens. Kamala starts going for Sucker Punch. Now Sucker Punch is a dark type move, so it will be super effective if it hits us now that we're ghost type. But this move has a massive flaw. It can only ever hit if we use an attacking move on the same turn. So once we're asleep, we're obviously not attacking. Every Sucker Punch Kamala tries is gonna fail 100% of the time. And once we wake up, whenever we use Protect, it will also fail. And when I say that, I mean even if we use multiple Protects in a row, because it's not an attacking move, Sucker Punch is still guaranteed to fail. And Sucker Punch only has 5 PP. So Kamala very quickly runs out of the move and can't use it anymore. And once that happens, that's it. Kamala loses the battle. See, the reason that Larry has been spamming Sucker Punch is because that is the only damaging move it knows that is not a normal type move. Larry's AI knows that normal moves won't affect us because we're ghost type, so his AI forces him to use Sucker Punch as that's the only move that even has a chance of hurting us. So even if Kamala puts us to sleep again, it doesn't actually matter. This thing cannot hurt us. It is useless and it's just waiting to be knocked out at this point. So once we're awake, it's time to attack, and we wipe Kamala out with a couple of Torch Songs. And each one of them is raising our special attack. So every time we use Torch Song, the next Torch Song becomes even more powerful. So then it's the Dudunsparce again, and I decide to Terrastalize. There's 2 reasons I didn't do so against the Kamala. One is that Terrastalizing makes us pure fire type. We would lose our ghost typing and Kamala would have been able to hit us with Slam. And secondly is that Terrastalizing makes our fire moves more powerful. And in this situation, we actually wanted to do less damage against Kamala specifically. The weaker that Torch Song is, the more uses it's going to take to knock out the Pokemon. And the more uses it takes, the more our special attack stat rises. Which means when the next Pokemon arrives and it actually can hit us since it knows Drill Run, we'll be doing more damage due to having more stat increases. Then we Terrastalize to maximize our chances of one-shotting this thing before it can hit us. And that's exactly what we do. So we're basically using the Kamala to set up against, like we often did with Center Scorch in the Pokemon Shield video. Get our buffs in place against the weak opponent so that we can sweep through the stronger ones. And this will become a common strategy for the rest of the video. Now we do still have to deal with Larry's ace, Staraptor, so we're not out of the woods just yet. Never mind, this thing's a one-shot. We've had 3 or 4 special attack increases by this point, so the amount of damage we're doing is absurd. There's really no way for Larry to stand up to us. And now that we've beaten him, he will give us 50 normal type Terra Shards to change our Terrastalization type if we want to. I'm not sure if we'll need it, but it is a nice option to have. The big thing to remember though is that if we do change types to normal when we Terrastalize, there's no way we can change back. Beyond the 50 shards that he's given us, the only other way to get Terra Shards is to engage in Terra Raids. Now they count as battles, so they're off limits to us. Immediately after the battle, Nemona challenges us once again. And the problem with Nemona, and this is going to be an ongoing issue, she starts with this rock Pokemon Lycanroc. This thing is fast, it hits hard, and it has the type advantage over us. It's a really problematic Pokemon. And because it's the first Pokemon she uses, we cannot set up against it effectively. So we use the leftovers protect strat to just try and avoid losing as much health as possible. And it does work, we take the Lycanroc out, but we do still lose a lot of HP in the process. The good news is that once we have endured through the Lycanroc, we've gotten off a few Torch Songs and that's boosting our special attack. So all of Nemona's remaining Pokemon are one-shots. Yeah, sorry, it might be a bit anticlimactic, but this one was actually an easy victory. Her first Pokemon is by far the most difficult. The rest we can deal with. And during the battle, we do learn Shadow Ball. Now this is a special attack ghost type move, which gives us some nice type coverage. And because it's a special attack, it will benefit from the Torch Song special attack increases as well. So things are coming together pretty nicely here. We head straight to gym number 6, which is Ryme with her ghost type Pokemon. We have 3 battles with her minions to increase our battle count. Now they're all quite easy, but the gimmick in this gym is that they're all double battles, so Oinkologne is once again getting some time in the spotlight. Nice. I should also mention that with double battles, we only count it as one battle. We're not counting the number of trainers we need to beat, we're counting the number of battles that we have to engage in. Now Ryme herself is also a double battle. She leads with Banette and Mimikyu. Now ghost Pokemon are actually weak to ghost type attacks, so I decided to terrestrialize Skeledirge straight away. We'll still get the same type attack bonus on Shadow Ball, but Ryme's ghost type attacks will no longer be doing super effective damage to us, so this works well for us. I try for Sunny Day on Oinkologne. It's quite low level compared to the other Pokemon in this battle, so a support role I think will work better than just going for damage. But the Sunny Day fails. I didn't even know this was possible, and I'm not sure why it's happening. There was a snowstorm going on during the battle just as a random environmental thing, so maybe that's why. I'm not sure. And even though that sucks, both our Pokemon then randomly have all their stats increased. Again, I have no idea why this happened. This battle is really strange and I am horribly confused. Now since Sunny Day is a no-go, I instead opt to use Yawn on the Mimikyu. Oinkologne also knows Yawn, so we can spam this strat quite nicely if we want to. Skeledirge though, I'm just spamming Torch Song again and again for those special attack increases. And at the end of the second turn, after we've taken out the Banette, we get another stat boost. I guess this is just a gimmick of this gym? Like I said, I'm really confused. Anyway, Ryme sends out a Houndstone after the Banette, but with all the stat increases that we've had, both the random ones and the ones from Torch Song, this thing is one shot before it can do anything. And the reason I chose to put the Mimikyu to sleep is because its ability prevents it from being one-shot. So I figure better to take out the other threats quickly and we'll just disable that thing. Now Oinkologne is still trying for the Sunny Day, but no luck, it's just not happening. Not that we really need it at this point anyway, since Skeledirge is already doing absurd amounts of damage. Then Ryme's ace Pokemon is a Toxtricity. And you know the deal by now, she terrestrializes it into a ghost type. Now by this point, she's actually getting the stat increases instead of us, but it's really too little too late. We one-shot the Toxtricity before it can do anything, and the Mimikyu is still snoozing while all this is going down, so we can finish that thing off quite easily as well. And I was actually impressed that Oinkologne survived despite its low level. It is a normal type, so having that immunity to Ghost certainly helped, but once again, Oinkologne is doing well. Battle number 31 is once again against Nemona. She just will not leave us alone. And what's really annoying is that her Lycanroc is now using Sand Attack. That's going to lower our accuracy, so I put it to sleep with Yawn since its rock moves are really going to hurt us, and then it's just a matter of spamming Torch Song to raise that special attack. The Lycanroc does wake up, and you can see a single attack from this thing takes a huge amount of our HP. Then it hits with another sand attack, and things are getting bad now. Like, we are able to beat the Lycanroc, but her next Pokemon has evolved and is a Sliggoo now. This thing is Dragon type, so it's going to resist our Fire type attacks, so we're still only doing half damage even with all those special attack increases. And then the sand attacks catch up with us and we start to miss. We've been pretty lucky with the accuracy drops until now, but our luck finally runs out. And every time we miss an attack, it's another opportunity for the opponent to hit us. So we do get through the Sliggoo, but our health is really low. Once Nemona's Pawmot comes out, it actually outspeeds us, and it knocks out Skeledirge. Now, Oinkologne is far too low level to get through the rest of her team. We need to reset. And guess what? I didn't save after the Ryme battle, so we're gonna have to do that again. Man, that's annoying. Thankfully, Ryme is an easy fight, and the second round goes more or less the same as the first. It doesn't cause us any problems. Both our Pokemon survived to gain some much needed XP, and it's not too tough of a fight. So this time I make sure to save the game, and then we try Nemona again. And she beats me. Again. And again. I think it took 5 or so attempts to win this one. That Lycanroc is just a real hurdle for us. But we can beat her, we just need the right strat. So here it is. We start the battle with Oinkologne instead of Skeledirge. And Oinkologne has a couple of objectives. The first is to get off a Yawn, then provided we can survive whatever Lycanroc does, we want to hit a Sunny Day. Now she goes for Sand Attack on both turns, so surviving is easy enough, and once the Lycanroc is asleep and the Sunny Day is set up, we then swap into Skeledirge. And it's honestly just a matter of hoping the Lycanroc doesn't wake up. We Terastallize right away to maximise our damage output, but of course, Nemona's Pokemon wakes up straight away. And it goes for the Sand Attack. I really hate this Lycanroc. It is so annoying. And we're pretty much in the worst case scenario here, but we are still in with a chance, even if it's not a great chance. The main thing we want is to just take down Lycanroc quickly, before it can do too much damage. And once again, that's just a matter of luck. Hope that our attacks don't miss. And thankfully, in this instance, that is what we get. Once Sliggoo returns, we swap out Skeledirge. This will remove our special attack increases, which is bad, but it also gets rid of those accuracy drops, so I think it's worth it. Once again, Oinkologne's job is to get off the Yawn and the Sunny Day. Now he is able to land the Yawn, but he goes down before we can score the Sunny Day. Now being knocked out means Oinkologne won't gain any further XP in this battle, which is unfortunate. But it's a sacrifice that I think is necessary. This is a difficult battle. So as Skeledirge returns, Sliggoo is asleep. And of course, we're going for Torch Song and hoping that it stays asleep. Pretty much the same strat as with the Lycanroc. But thankfully we get far better sleep luck this time, and Sliggoo stays asleep for 3 turns, allowing us to finish it off and be on maximum health. Full HP, no accuracy drops. This is looking good. Pawmot's an easy one-shot, so not much to say there. And then that only leaves Nemona's ace, Meowscarada. And remember, it's a grass type, and our special attack is through the roof from this stage from all those Torch Songs. See you later, Meowscarada. So we got through that one, but definitely not an easy encounter. Alright, Gym Leader number 7 is going to be battle number 32. And I actually made a mistake here. Tulip and Grusha are the only 2 gym leaders left. I thought Tulip was the highest leveled, which is why I took on Grusha here. But it turns out I was wrong, and Grusha is actually the most powerful gym leader in terms of levels. Despite that, his Pokemon are Ice type, and that gives us a big advantage with our Fire Boy. Now his first Pokemon is Frostmoth, which is actually Ice Bug. So we're going to be doing 4 times damage. so obviously that thing is not going to last long. He then sends out Beartic, but once we have that first special attack increase, it just gives our moves such an extra punch. So Beartic is instantly disposed of as well. The Satitan, I think is how you say that, it's not a one-shot. I think it might have the Thick Fat ability which reduces fire damage, or maybe it's just a really bulky Pokemon, I'm not sure. And of course, it knows a water move, so it does reasonable damage to us. It's not going to be enough though, as it only has a sliver of HP left, so we can finish it off. And then Grusha's last Pokemon is Altaria, and of course he's going to terrestrialize it into the Ice type. Now Altaria is part dragon, so he honestly would have been better off leaving this thing in its regular form. But he didn't do that, so it works for us. Now, Altaria is a decently bulky Pokemon, and it does outspeed us, so these things are not good. And what's even worse is it uses Hurricane and confuses us. Yeah, this is getting worse by the second. We hit ourselves instead of attacking, and now, even if I go for Protect to recover HP, there's no guarantee that it's gonna work. Every turn we have a 50-50 chance of attacking ourselves. And if that happens, we take damage, plus our Protect will not work. Sure enough, that's exactly what happens. Now thankfully, the Altaria's Hurricane does miss, so we got some bad luck, but also some good luck. So we're not out just yet. I try for Protect again. We've hit ourselves in Confusion twice in a row, so surely the third time has to work, right? Well, it actually does. Yeah, no fake out there. Excellent. I'm hoping we've regained enough HP to survive another Hurricane, but it doesn't actually matter because once again the Altaria misses. And then, finally, we land with the Torch Song, and it's actually a one-shot. I would have been better off just using Torch Song immediately, but I didn't know that it was going to take it out in one hit, so that's why I didn't. Anyway, this Altaria fight was really weird. Just a total mixed bag, some excellent luck, and then some terrible luck. But all's well that ends well, we've won the battle. And this is a very significant moment. Do you remember at the start of the video how I said we would eventually get access to a third Pokemon? Or maybe I didn't say it, I just implied it. Whatever. The point is, we have 7 gym badges, and that allows us to complete the language class side quest storyline thing. You can start this side quest much earlier in the game, and I have been working my way through it throughout this entire run, but you cannot complete the quest line until you have 7 badges. Now this quest line, it does not involve any battles, so it is perfectly fine for us to do. It's just some cutscenes and taking some exams at the school. You have to answer some questions and get them right. And I honestly hate these side quests. Like, I love the idea, a Pokemon game where you actually attend classes and maintain a schedule, kind of like the Persona games. But these classes are just so boring. It's a shining example of great idea, horrible execution. Kind of like Starfield. Anyway, for enduring all of these awful cutscenes, we do actually get a really good reward. The language teacher will gift us a Pokemon. The only gifted Pokemon in the whole game apart from your starter. And what Pokemon does he give us? A Galarian Meowth. It's a bit of a random addition, but it does seem pretty obvious there is a massive Meowth stan who has a high level position at Game Freak. This little kitty gets a lot of love in these games, and it gives us a third team member, so I'm happy to see this thing. And Galarian Meowth is actually a pretty solid addition to our team. Steel typing is always nice to have. There is a bit of an issue though. It's only level 5. Yeah, at this point in the game, that's not going to be much help to us. But like I said, you need 7 gym badges before you can get the Meowth. So we're kind of doing it as early as I could. Now I do equip her with a lucky egg, and that's going to boost the XP that she gains. It might be too little too late, but we'll give it a try, we'll see how we go. And with this Meowth, our team is actually complete. But even though she's low level, Meowth serves a huge purpose to us. with 3 Pokemon on our team, we can finally access the Team Star bases. So this part of the game we've been locked out of until now, we can finally get to it. And so now's a good time to talk about auto battles. It's a new mechanic in Generation 9 where you basically send your Pokemon into the overworld to do just what the name says. Battle automatically, without your input. You can do this with wild Pokemon, but it's actually required to complete the Team Star bases. Now, I wasn't sure whether to include these in the battle count or not. There's 5 bases in the game, and each one requires 30 auto battles. Now, it's quite easy to ensure you complete exactly 30 without going over, so all up we're going to have 150 of these things. In the end, I obviously decided to give them their own separate counter. They're not a traditional Pokemon battle, they're more like a mini-game, and I believe within the Team Star bases, they don't even provide any XP. After the first base was complete, our Meowth was still at level 5. If you auto-battle wild Pokemon, I think it does give a small amount of XP, but I never did that during this run since it's obviously not required to progress the game. The only auto-battles we completed were the mandatory ones in the Team Star bases. So once we're done with the auto-battles, we have to face off against the boss of the base, and this one is more like a regular battle, though it's not exactly the same, but I'm still calling this guy battle number 33. I think his name is pronounced Giacomo, but I'm really not sure, so apologies if I'm butchering that one as well. Anyway, he uses Dark-type Pokemon, and the whole base actually uses Dark-type. The problem this guy has is that you're supposed to face him far earlier in the game, which we obviously couldn't do since we needed 3 Pokemon, and we needed to beat all those gym leaders in order to get those Pokemon. Each one of the Team Star bosses will use at least 1 regular Pokemon, and then they'll make you battle the car that they're standing on. And just like the auto battles, these boss battles don't appear to provide any XP. Now, I didn't actually realise that before this run, and it sucks. The whole reason I was doing this was to get some XP for Meowth, so a bit of a bust. But anyway, his level 20 car is no match for our Skeledirge in the 40s, so this whole thing is really easy. Now, you may have noticed during the auto battles, Meowth was getting knocked out a lot. They do take the Pokemon's level into account, so because our Meowth is so low level, that's why she's getting KO'd so often. Now, given this was the easiest of the bases, we really need to get Meowth some XP. We want our Pokemon to be winning the auto battles since losing just throws an unneeded amount of uncertainty into the mix. It could make landing on exactly 30 auto battles a bit trickier if I can't be sure of the outcome of the match. So before we do any more Team Star bases, we need to get some XP. Our options are either the next Titan Pokemon, Great Tusk, or the 8th Gym Leader. Now, Great Tusk is ground type, which is strong against fire, so I think we should leave that until later. Instead, we'll go see Tulip, the Psychic type Gym Leader. I don't think she'll be too much trouble for our Ghost type Skeledirge. Now, she has a couple of stooges we need to battle, making the Gym Leader herself number 36. Now, even though Shadow Ball, our Ghost type move, will be super effective against her Pokemon, it won't raise our special attack stat, so we're gonna stick with Torch Song at least initially in this battle. And honestly, I don't really know what to say. We're over-leveled and Skeledirge is a beast, so we win this encounter really easily. Like I said, I messed up. I thought she had higher level Pokemon than what she actually does. But the thing is, you will notice Meowth is gaining XP here, and she levels up quite a bit. She started this gym challenge at level 5, and by the time we leave with our 8th badge, she's level 28. Enough to evolve into Berserker. Yeah, the Galarian version actually has a different evolution, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this was definitely a worthwhile expedition. She should be a lot more helpful in those auto battles now. And at this point, we can actually take on the Elite Four if we want to, but I don't think we're quite ready for that. Instead, we'll head to the next Team Star base, And it's the same thing as the last one. The enemy Pokemon spawn in groups usually between 1 to 4, so it's just a matter of engaging the right groups to ensure the total number of Pokemon that we KO adds up to exactly 30. And you'll notice here Berserker is holding her own much better now, so this is definitely an easier process. That leaves battle number 37 as the Fire Team Star boss. Mela, I think her name is? I don't know, and nor do I really care. Honestly, these Team Star sections are by far the worst part of the game in my opinion. The auto battles are boring, they provide literally no benefit since there's no XP, and both before entering the base as well as after beating the boss, you just get bombarded with exposition and really boring cutscenes. Even when you choose the option to skip the cutscenes, the game plays almost all of them anyway, and you can't even press a button to skip it. This is like 1990s terrible game design. Team Star just loves wasting the player's time. Anyway, while I've been ranting, you can see the battle here. Even though Mela is a bit higher level than Giacomo, she's still far lower than we are, so this one is another mismatch. Alright, next battle is against the Titan Pokemon Great Tusk. Now we're pretty close in level with this thing, but like I said, it does have the type advantage. On top of that, there's a sandstorm going on, so we're going to take damage every turn, but the Great Tusk will not. Despite these setbacks, once again, there's not too much play-by-play I can really give. We just spam Torch Song, raise that special attack, and we just inflict damage faster than the opponent. That's our path to victory. Then we need to look at battle number 39, which is another joint battle with Arven. Thankfully, we do get to heal before fighting Great Tusk a second time, so that makes things much easier. Arven uses a Scovillain to help us, and this thing absolutely sucks. It's doing hardly any damage. It is still being somewhat useful though. The main advantage it's giving us is that the Great Tusk will spend some turns attacking it. That obviously means it's not attacking us. This makes keeping our HP easier, and once again, it's a straightforward victory. We're making good progress now, let's keep this up. The third Team Star base is the Poison type, but it's also quite low level compared to us, so yet another easy victory. The only thing we really have to be careful of is Toxic. Now Skeledirge does take a Toxic, and the way this move works is that it poisons the Pokemon, but the poison damage will increase every turn. It's not a set amount, which would happen with regular poison. Yeah, this is super poison kind of thing. Now we can reset the Toxic counter by swapping out Skeledirge, and Oinkologne, even though he's a low level compared to Skeledirge, he's about on par with the boss's Pokemon. Now he also gets a dose of Toxic, and he does get KO'd. But seeing as these battles don't reward XP anyway, it actually doesn't matter. And so Skeledirge returns, the Toxic damage has been reset back to quite low levels, and even if it does start building up to be too much, we can always swap into Berserker as well. But it doesn't actually come to that, Skeledirge secures the victory. But with that battle done, I'm thinking here is where the good times may be over. The next easiest event we have in terms of levels is the Fairy type Team Star base, and his Pokemon are level 50 and above. Now there are still 2 bases left, which means we have 2 Stooges out the front that we can battle like we did earlier, and I opt to do both of these. We're just trying to grab as much XP as we can. And then the only other place left that I can get any more XP, unless I want to take on the Elite Four, is the final Titan Pokemon. And this one is a real step up from the others. It begins with a battle against Dondozo. This thing is water type, and you can see it's doing huge damage to Skeledirge. Meanwhile, we're not doing all that much damage to it. So we need to change our strategy here. This one's not going to be a free victory. The strat is pretty straightforward. We're once again going to start with Oinkologne and get off the Sunny Day and the Yawn. Yawn has the obvious advantage of putting the Dondozo to sleep, and Sunny Day will both increase our fire damage and reduce Dondozo's water damage. Now Oinkologne does get KO'd, but I was going to swap him out even if he didn't. Skeledirge comes back and we want to use Torch Song. Even though it is resisted and Shadow Ball would be doing more damage, once again we want that special attack increase, so Torch Song is the way to go. And the Dondozo actually cooperates really nicely. We finish it off before it even wakes up. So you know the drill by now, we got to team up with Arven for the rematch. Now this time our boy is using a Greedent to help us, and you can see it's quite a bit higher level than my Oinkologne. The strategy does not change though. We want to hit the Sunny Day and the Yawn and then swap in the Skeledirge. Once our main man is in, we spam Torch Song once again. The Dondozo stays asleep long enough for us to take it out a second time. This thing has made our life really easy. Thanks, Dondozo. But then we have the M. Night Shyamalan level twist. The Dondozo wasn't actually the Titan Pokemon at all. It was this little Tatsugiri all along. And this little guy, while he may seem unassuming, is a water dragon type. So Torch Song is going to be doubly resisted. That means we will be doing a quarter of the damage that we normally would. This is really bad. So I start with Sunny Day, but I don't go for Yawn. Instead I opt for Mud Shot. Yeah, haven't used that move in a while. I'm not entirely sure why I did this. I guess I just didn't want Skeledirge to be outsped. Anyway, eventually Oinkologne goes down, and by the time the Skeledirge arrives, the Tatsugiri is already down to orange health. The Greedent has actually been doing really good damage. The trade-off is the way the Greedent has done this damage. It's using Takedown, a move that inflicts recoil damage. So every time the Greedent hurts the Tatsugiri, it also hurts itself in the process. And because of this, it doesn't last that long, and now we have a one-on-one battle. That's obviously bad for us, as it means we're taking the full brunt of Tatsugiri's offense instead of having it split between two Pokemon. And things get bad as the Tatsugiri begins using Muddy Water. This move lowers our accuracy. Once again, the game is using my own strats against me, and we just cannot connect with Torch Song. This actually causes Skeledirge to get KO'd. And you'll see here, initially I go to reset, but then I have a change of mind at the last second, because we do actually have one Pokemon left. Berserker is extremely underleveled for this fight, but we do have something working in our favour. She knows the move Fake Out, and Fake Out is pretty interesting. You can only use it on the turn the Pokemon has entered battle, but it always goes first, and it guarantees to make the opponent flinch. So it basically gives you a free move. We use Fake Out, and you can see here we are so close to taking out the Titan Pokemon, but it just hangs on. What even is that? Like 1 HP? Absolutely brutal. Even worse, the Sunny Day wears off, so Tatsugiri's next Muddy Water is going to be doing full damage. Even with the speed drops we inflicted, it still outspeeds, and unfortunately Berserker cannot withstand the attack. Man, we were so close. That would have been amazing if Berserker pulled off the victory there, and it almost happened. But sadly, we're doing this fight again. And realistically, it probably is for the best since we don't want Skeledirge missing out on the XP. Now, you can't actually save between the second Dondozo battle and the Tatsugiri, so we have to do that one again as well. Now, thankfully the game does auto-heal you between the battles, and the Dondozo fight is pretty easy, so it's not too much of a problem. Now, as for the Tatsugiri, what exactly am I going to do differently? Well, this time I do put it to sleep with Yawn from Oinkologne, and that seems to be the difference maker. I should have just stuck to my regular strategy. We actually win this one without too much trouble. The Sunny Day Yawn strategy is a really good one. I should have just stuck to it. It's been working. Why did I mix things up? Lesson learned. Let's move on. Now, to finish the Titan Pokemon questline, we have to battle Arven again. Obviously, he's a lot stronger than he was at the start of the game. And my thinking here is that we're not going to get any XP from the Team Star bases, so we might as well fight Arven first. That way we've earned the XP from Arven, and that might make the Team Starbase battles a little easier. if we were to do the Team Star bases first, it wouldn't make Arven any easier since we wouldn't have leveled up. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Now in this one, Arven is going to use all the Pokemon he used to help us in the Titan battles. Friend has become foe, it seems. To start things off, Oinkolone's going to go for a Sunny Day, of course, but we actually get paralysed from a Greedent Body Slam. We do seem to still outspeed though, even while we're paralysed, and that is just insane to me. Surely there must be something else going on here. Well, it doesn't matter because we're not able to attack, and Oinkolone goes down. So here comes Skeledirge. I've actually equipped the air balloon to protect us from ground attacks. Now, I'd never used this item before, and I didn't realise it actually tells your opponent that you're using it. And Arven is smart enough to not use a ground attack, instead going for Psychic Fang. So we lose the balloon straight away, and it's pretty much a total waste. I think the Greedent does know Earthquake, so it may have allowed us to avoid taking a super effective Earthquake, so maybe not a total waste, I don't know. Anyway, next up is this Minecraft looking thing, and you can see our Torch Song is doing almost nothing to it. And that's after 2 special attack boosts. This is bad. Now the Garganical thankfully goes for Stealth Rock, which will only damage us if we switch Pokemon. I'm hoping I'm not going to have to do that again this battle, so it's not going to do anything. And then we get super duper lucky. The opponent misses with a Stone Edge. If that had hit, it would have done an absurd amount of damage. And we don't have the leftover equipped anymore. I got rid of it for a stupid balloon. And because of that miss, we are able to take down the big rock boy. And by the time his next Pokemon comes out, things are very much in our favour. We've raised our special attack, I think, 5 times by now, so we are just handing out one shot after one shot. I think we've got this one in the bag. Doesn't seem like any of his Pokemon can really stand up to us. At least until the Mabastiff outspeeds and hits us with a super effective crunch. Oh dear. Now Berserker has no chance against this thing, so I just reset. I try again against Arven, but this time the Garganical doesn't miss with Stone Edge. The exact opposite actually, it hits us with a crit. And that's another one shot. We're gone. So yeah, not looking good. Maybe 3rd time's a charm. This time I Terrastallize against the Garganical, and that actually turns it into a 2-shot instead of a 3-shot. It does still try for a Stone Edge, but it thankfully misses. We really need that miss in order to have a chance of winning this battle. So once again, the next couple of Arven's Pokemon we destroy with one shot. The Mabastiff is the thing we need to be worried about. And when we finally get back to the doggo, things have changed a little bit. Terrastalizing removes our ghost typing, instead we're just pure fire type, so Crunch is no longer super effective. And that means it cannot one-shot us. Meanwhile, after all our Torch Songs, our attack is a one-shot. So I think all I needed to do on the first battle was just to Terrastallize earlier. We did still need that Stone Edge to miss, so the battle wasn't completely free, but nevertheless, we are victorious. Alright, battle number 47 against Ortega. He's the leader of the Fairy-type Team Star base, and he actually starts with a Fairy Water type in Azumarill. So we definitely want to kick things off with Oinkolone. Our Chonky Boy goes down, but he's hit our 2 usual setup moves. Between Sunny Day weakening the water and Yawn putting it to sleep, the Azumarill doesn't get the opportunity to do very much to us. Ortega's next couple of Pokemon we then obliterate with ease, and of course he's going to finish up with his Revavroom car thing. And just look at us massacre that health bar. Yeah, this one's an easy win. Don't know why I was worried about it. So that leaves the final Team Star base. Airy, I think is her name. And with this base, we complete all of our auto battles, bringing the total to 150. And yes, I did complete exactly 150, not a single auto battle more. Now, Airy's Pokemon are quite high level, the mid-50s, and for the first time in a while, Oinkolone goes down before it can get off any setup moves, not Sunny Day or Yawn. Oof, that hurts. We do have the type matchup in our favour as Skeledirge enters the battle. Airy is a fighting type and her fighting moves will do 0 damage to our big ghost boy. Of course she does have other types of moves so she can still hurt us. And you'll see here I've swapped back to the leftovers. The air balloon just isn't very useful. Her Krogunk takes a few hits which allows us to build up our special attack. And that results in, once again, all her Pokemon until the car being one-shots. Wait, scratch that. Annihilate survives. Wow, it must be bulky. And it actually does quite a bit of damage to us. Uh-oh. I mean, we can still take it out, but this isn't looking good. Now, we can stall for HP with Protect, and I'm thinking we're going to need it. So we can get past Annihilate easily enough, but we instantly have a bigger problem. The car is outspeeding us, and it inflicts huge damage with high horsepower. I think we're going to lose here. The only way we can win is if Skeledirge can one-shot, which it can. Oh, that is so good. It does lead me to a question though. How did we one-shot this thing, but not one-shot Ortega's car, which is a lower level? I don't understand. Maybe we had more special attack buffs in this match than the previous, so we were doing more damage. I'm not 100% sure, but it doesn't matter, because we have really good news. No more cringe-inducing Team Star bases. But even though we're done with the bases, to finish up the Team Star questline, there's actually 2 battles left. The first is against the school principal Clavel, and this one is pretty rough. He starts with Oranguru, and you can see it's level 60. That's quite a bit higher than us. And we are doing garbage damage to it. Now meanwhile, Clavel uses my own Yawn strat against me. And once Skeledirge is asleep, Oranguru starts draining our HP with Dream Eater. So we're losing HP and it's gaining HP. Fortunately, we wake up relatively quickly and then we can use Yawn on the opponent to put them to sleep. Then we can Protect Stall to recover HP, and we actually have a good amount by the time the Oranguru goes to the Shadow Realm. So we've recovered HP too. Quite a back and forth exchange here. Next, Clavel sends out Poltegeist. We're not able to one-shot and it hits us with a Shadow Ball. Clavel really likes using my own moves against me, doesn't he? Anyway, it wipes us out. Yeah, the second Pokemon KO'd us. Ouch. On the next attempt, I start with Oinkologne, and of course I'm going to go for Sunny Day. This, along with terastallizing our Skeledirge, gives us a much needed damage buff against the Oranguru. And I've actually gone for a Chesto Berry to wake us up from sleep over leftovers, and with these improvements, Oranguru goes down quite easily. But then look at this, Clavel doesn't send out Poltegeist next, instead he goes for Houndoom. I think because we've lost our ghost typing, he won't send out Poltegeist second because it's no longer super effective. And Houndoom is a huge problem. It has the Flash Fire ability, which means Torch Song will not only inflict 0 damage, it will increase the strength of Houndoom's fire type moves. And Flash Fire was a strat that I used in Pokemon Shield. So Clavel really is stealing all my ideas here. And my ideas are good, I don't like them being used against me, they're hard to deal with. And on top of all this, Houndoom's Fire Blast also benefits from Sunny Day, so it gets a power boost from there as well. So we've basically spent the whole battle buffing his Pokemon instead of ours. So obviously this attempt is a failure. And to be honest, this battle is going terribly. I don't know what we're going to do here. So then I decide I'm going to wait to terastallize. We're going to do the Sunny Day thing with Oinkologne, then I swap back to the leftovers with Skeledirge. Leftovers will help us for the entire battle, not just the first Pokemon, and it seems like we're going to need the help, so we can get rid of the Oranguru, and as long as we haven't terastallized, Clavel will send out Poltegeist next. And once this little guy is here, that's when we want to terastallize. Becoming a pure fire type means ghost moves won't be super effective against us, so we take a lot less damage, and for the first time, we've made it past the first 2 Pokemon. That's progress. But of course, our old friend Houndoom then returns. Now, since we've used a couple of extra torch songs, our special attack has been raised more than it was in the previous battle. But even so, the only damaging move Skeledirge has is Shadow Ball, and Houndoom resists that. And the other problem, which I was too much in a panic over the flash fire thing to even realise in the previous battle, but Houndoom actually outspeeds us. So I can stall with Protect for a time, but eventually this thing is gonna knock us out before we can hit it again. That's actually a real problem, having this thing go first. And yeah, I really don't see a way forward here. We need to be faster than the Houndoom, and the only way we're going to do that is by leveling up. So where can we get some XP? There's pretty much only one place left, the Elite Four. Now we can do that, but it's risky. See, in what was truly a terrible decision, someone at Game Freak decided we should have to complete this quiz before we face the Elite Four. And once the quiz is complete, we cannot leave. We're trapped until either we beat the champion or we lose in battle. And for this particular challenge, we cannot lose. If we lose a battle and have to do a rematch, that's going to increase our battle count. So to stick to minimum battles, we need to reload the game after a loss. And that's obviously what I've been doing for this entire run. And so with this conundrum, I basically have two options. Either we complete this stupid quiz every time I want to face the Elite Four, or I save after the quiz knowing that if we can't win, the run is over. I'd have to restart the entire game as there's no way to get out of the Elite Four. So what am I going to do? And this might seem crazy, but it speaks to just how much I hate the quiz. It is so time consuming, it is so annoying. I actually decide to save the game inside the Elite Four. I know I'm putting the entire run at jeopardy by doing this, but I think it's worth it. I haven't used the rare candies yet, so I figure now is the best time to pop a few, and I'm hoping that's going to put us at high enough level to get through the entire thing, because otherwise the run is over. And I'll just quickly touch on it because someone might ask, I did actually try Clavel again after using the rare candies, and we could get through his entire team except his final Pokemon, Quaquaval. I think that's how you pronounce it. It just walled us, and I didn't see a way past even at the higher level. And I think Clavel's Pokemon are actually higher level than the Elite Four, and that's kind of weird. But nevertheless, hopefully I'm making the right choice by trying them first. And as we begin, I'm immediately regretting my choice. The first of the Elite Four is Rika, who is a ground-type user. And as if that's not bad enough, her first Pokemon is Whiscash, which is also part Water-type. So her ground moves are going to wreck Skeledirge, while our fire moves will be resisted. Can't get much worse than this. So we're going to go with Oinkologne, and he's able to get off a Yawn, but then he goes down when not able to get the Sunny Day. Now Whiscash is asleep, meaning we don't have to worry about Skeledirge getting hit with water moves, so that's nice, or ground moves for that matter. And the strat is to Terrastallize and bombard Whiscash with Torch Songs to buff our attacks as much as possible before it wakes up. But Whiscash doesn't cooperate, it wakes up pretty quickly. It connects with Muddy Water. I hate this move. And it not only takes more than half our health, of course it lowers our accuracy. We've seen how painful that can be. And yep, our next Torch Song is a miss, and you'll see I reload straight away. I really hate accuracy drops. It's just one of those things where dropping accuracy always seems far more helpful to the AI than it does when you do it. So annoying. Alright, let's try again. Oinkologne can only land one move before it goes down, so this time I opt for Sunny Day. That's going to boost our fire-type moves, while also reducing the damage that Muddy Water will do to us. And with the Sunny Day, Whiscash is now a 2-shot. Now of course it does connect with Muddy Water again, but this time Torch Song still hits, and down goes Rika's first Pokemon. Out comes Donphan. The good news is this thing won't resist fire moves, so we should be doing more damage. The bad news is it has the ability Sturdy. That means that we cannot one-shot it. This thing cannot be knocked out from full health. So it lands with an Earthquake and so long Skeledirge. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. What are we gonna do here? Like I said, we can't one-shot this thing. It's always gonna get off that Earthquake and obliterate us. And that solution is using all the remaining rare candies. I really wanted to avoid this as there's still one battle in particular that I'm worried about, and it's not Clavel. It's going to be even worse than him. But we've hit a wall here, and we need the rare candies now, so that future battle is going to be future Drifter's problem. And the other thing I've done is equip the leftovers again. I was using the air balloon to avoid at least one ground move from the Whiscash, but Muddy Water is such an annoying move anyway that it really doesn't make that much difference. So on the next attempt, between our higher level and the leftovers, we are now able to tank the Earthquake from Donphan, but not by much. We do not have a lot of HP left. And as we come to the next Pokemon, things go from bad to worst. Rika's got a Dugtrio. This thing is a speedy Pokemon, so there's a good chance it's going to move first, and if it does, we're getting KO'd, no doubt about it. The first turn I use Protect, I'm just desperately trying to recover as much HP as possible. On the second turn, Dugtrio does indeed outspeed, but it goes for Sandstorm. This thing could have easily knocked us out, but for some reason it's decided to use Sandstorm, a move that's going to do hardly any damage to us. Maybe it thought that I was going to use Protect again? I'm not sure, but who cares? We're taking this. And as fast as Dugtrio is, it's a glass cannon, so this is going to be an easy one-shot. Wait, what? We missed? How did we miss? We didn't get hit with Muddy Water. This is a 100% accurate move. We should be hitting. I think Dugtrio has an ability that can raise its evasiveness in a sandstorm. Maybe that's what happened? I'm just guessing here. Anyway, it's actually really dreadful. Like it might have cost us the battle amounts of dreadful. And yeah, that's exactly what happens. Dugtrio outspeeds and KOs us with Earthquake. This is really bad. And I mentioned we can't leave, right? So all we can do is try again. There's no other option. And on this attempt, something amazing happens early on. See, up until now, the Whiscash has just been attacking Oinkologne to KO it in 2 turns. But for some reason, I have no idea why, this time on the second turn it goes for Future Sight. Future Sight is a truly terrible move, and it gives Oinkologne the chance to get off both Sunny Day and Yawn. That hasn't happened before, and it actually ends up making a huge difference. Apart from the Future Sight damage, Skeledirge doesn't actually get hit by the Whiscash at all. So we've got full accuracy, we've got full health, this is looking really good. Now here comes the Donphan, and allow me to show you my brilliant strategy. We use Sing. Yeah, Skeledirge can learn Sing in addition to Yawn. Normally I prefer Yawn because Sing only has 55% accuracy, so it's going to miss a lot. But the advantage of Sing is that it puts the opponent to sleep immediately. We don't have to wait that extra turn. So my plan was to just keep reloading until Sing connected, but I didn't have to. We landed it the first time. This allows us to easily take down the Donphan, and we're now on full HP for the Dugtrio. This puts us in a really good position. This time Rika goes for Sandstorm straight away, and you can see again our attack misses. The good part is Leftovers is negating the Sandstorm damage. Now Earthquake does connect, and it does inflict a lot of damage to us, but we also inflict a lot of damage with Torch Song. And just as I suspected, it is a one-shot. We just needed the attack to land. Things are looking good now. Her next Pokemon is Camerupt. It's part Fire type, so I go for Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball also benefits from our increased special attack, though it won't raise it any further like Torch Song does. Camerupt is also an easy one-shot, and her final Pokemon is Paldean Clodsire. Now, the Elite Four do terrestrialize their Pokemon, but they stay the same type, unlike the gym leaders. So this big boy is still a ground type. Meanwhile, our special attack is still ridiculously high, and you know the drill, it's another one-shot. So I was really worried about this. I thought that I might have messed up the whole run, but we've conquered the first of the Elite Four. And as painful as that battle was, I'm actually feeling really optimistic at this point. Rika's ground type should be the most problematic for our Fire Croc, so I'm expecting the rest of the Elite Four to be easier. So let's have a look if I'm right. Battle number 50 is Poppy, and she uses Steel type Pokemon. And even though Steel type are the best defensive type in the game, they don't really have that many weaknesses. One of the weaknesses they do have is the Fire type. So I don't even bother setting up with Oinkologne. We're just going to melt her Pokemon into oblivion with Torch Song. Corviknight is the first of her Pokemon that isn't a one-shot, but instead of attacking with it, she just raises its defense. Physical defense that will do absolutely nothing to help her against our Skeledirge's special attacks. You know, maybe letting a child into the Elite Four was a bad idea. She seems to be making some pretty bad plays here. So then she's got a Magnezone. I'm pretty sure this would be a one-shot, but it also has the Sturdy ability. So it survives and it uses Light Screen. Now that is actually annoying since it's going to raise her whole team's special defense for, I think, the next 5 turns. Now we can get rid of the Magnezone easily enough, but we do run into a problem with her final Pokemon, Tinkaton. And it's actually my fault. I forgot to use any PP restoring moves, so we've run out of Torch Songs. That means I need to use Shadow Ball, which isn't going to do super effective damage. And you can see with that light screen, we're not doing that much. And as if all that wasn't bad enough, Tinkaton knows Stone Edge, another rock move. It's been a while since we had to deal with one of those. So I decide to stall with Protect every second turn to regain HP, and it really is just a battle of attrition. Which Pokemon will drop to 0 HP first? And thankfully it turns out to be Tinkaton, and this one is a first try victory. Certainly a refreshing change of pace after the nightmare fuel that was Rika. And then here he is, the man, the myth, the legend. It's your boy Larry. He's back. Poor guy has to work 2 jobs just to make ends meet. And this time he's not using normal Pokemon, he's using the flying type. Now I remember to restore our PP this time so that we can actually use our moves, and away we go. His first Pokemon is Tropius, which I actually used in my very first playthrough of Pokemon Ruby a couple of decades ago. I love this Pokemon. I think it has such a cool design. And I think it might have been the first grass flying type, which was really cool at the time. But for this particular run, the thing I love most about it is that it's weak to fire type moves, so we instantly one-shot it. And of course that's going to boost our special attack for the next Pokemon. Cool, this is looking good. Yep, Staraptor's a one-shot as well. Then out comes little cheerleader thing, and it's also a one-shot. And then we actually learn Overheat. And oh my goodness, I was excited about this. Overheat does an insane amount of damage, but the drawback is it lowers our special attack by 2 stages. But of course we can combine this move with Torch Song, raising our special attack, and we can make sure that it never falls too low. This move is going to be a fantastic ace in the hole for us. Altaria is the first of Larry's team that's not a one-shot, but it does pretty minor damage with a Dragon Pulse. Not too much to worry about. We can knock it out, and that only leaves Larry's ace, Flamigo. And it's also a one-shot, so a little anticlimactic there. These Elite Four trainers are actually getting easier as we go. That's not how this is supposed to work. The final member, Hassel, I think his name is, he could be a different story though. He's a dragon type user, which means our fire moves are going to be resisted. But we're still going to give it our best. Here comes battle number 52. Now, since this battle is likely going to be a bit more challenging than the last couple, we're going to start with Oinkologne. We can get off a sunny day and then the big boy goes down. So it's time for Skeledirge to do his thing. The Noivern does outspeed us and we do take some damage. But thankfully, with its second attack, it actually misses, and we're almost back to full health by the time we deliver the KO. And as usual, once we've landed enough Torch Songs, his Pokemon resisting fire moves isn't gonna matter too much. We're doing so much damage that we're gonna be able to take his monsters down quickly. Unfortunately, we do get poisoned, so that's kinda bad. Now we've got even more incentive to finish this match quickly. Now, poison is going to take our HP every turn, and stalling with Protect will not help us recover health. Any HP we get back from the leftovers, the poison is just going to take away again. Alright, so Haxorus is out, and it's a one-shot. Then he's got a Flapple, which I think this thing is part grass, so it doesn't resist us, and we can one-shot that too. And then we have Baxcalibur. We're getting low on health, and it's Hassel's last Pokemon, so we might as well go all out. I use Overheat, and it's a one-shot. So that was actually a first try victory too. So much for him being more difficult. It's not over just yet though. We do still have to get through Champion Geeta, who won't be using a single type of Pokemon, so she could be more challenging. Or maybe she won't be. She goes for Reflect with her first Pokemon, using a similar strat to the little kid, and the thing is we're a special attacker, so it's going to do nothing. And then very strangely she sends out Avalugg next. I think that's how you say its name. But this thing is Ice type, so of course we obliterate it. And then King Gambit I think is Steel type, so of course we destroy that too. She's sending out all the types that we're strong against. So finally she's got a water type in Veluza, but by this point we have used so many Torch Songs, our special attack is so high, it doesn't matter. We just hand out another beatdown. So next up she's got a Gogoat, that's a one-shot, and then she's down to her ace, Glamora. I think this thing is ground type, and it is able to hit us for decent damage, but once again it's too little too late. Our special attack is too high, we're inflicting too much damage for Glamora to withstand it, and we win. This was ridiculous. I think she only landed one damaging move. This was just so underwhelming. Rika was so difficult, and this was just, well, easy. The opposite of difficult. So yeah, that's done. For right now though, there is actually one more battle remaining to finish the Gym Challenge questline. But I'm not going to do that one just yet. Right now, I'm looking for some revenge against Clavel. This guy has put me through so much pain, and we've gained some levels now, so we may be able to finally defeat him. Oinkologne and Oranguru exchange Yawns, which is actually perfect since it gives us a turn to set up Sunny Day. And when we swap into Skeledirge, Oranguru is asleep. And you know what's coming by this point. It's time for Torch Song. The Oranguru is a two-shot and it stays asleep the entire time, so we're full health as Poltegeist shows up. And same deal as last time, now that he's here, we want to Terrastalize. And we one-shot Poltegeist without issue. Yeah, this is definitely going better than our previous attempts. Now, the most important difference of all is that we are finally faster than the Houndoom. And because it's a two-shot, that means it now only gets to attack us once before we take it down. Going first in this game is such a big advantage. On top of that, its Fire Blast is doing noticeably less damage to us too. So yeah, much easier. This was night and day compared to the earlier attempts. So next out is Amoonguss, and this thing is weak to fire, so have a nice life, it was nice meeting you. And as for Abomasnow, well, it's doubly weak to fire, so it doesn't last very long either. So now for the final Pokemon, the Quaquaval. Now the difference between this attempt and the previous encounters with this thing is that we have Overheat. If Clavel's Pokemon can hit us, it could take us out. But with Overheat, we can one-shot it before that can happen, and we win. And yeah, this was quite a bit easier than earlier. Sometimes you just have to level up. I know it's not the most exciting strategy, but I think it was necessary here. Alright, I mentioned one more battle for the gym challenge, and of course it's Nemona. And of course, she's starting with our good friend Lycanroc. It starts off with a Stealth Rock, which is fine, but look at how little damage our Torch Song does. Now, each time we attack, we will be doing more damage, but the Rocky Doggo can really hurt us, unless it misses. Awesome. Now, the second Stone Edge does connect, and you can see that it wallops us, so we need at least one of the two that it's going to get the chance to use to miss if we want to win this battle. The good news is, once we get rid of it, that's probably her most dangerous Pokemon dealt with. Next, she uses Othworm, and we've encountered this thing before. No big deal, we can get rid of it quite easily. It is Steel type after all. Then we've got the Gudra. We're on low HP, even after stalling with Protect and Leftovers, so I decide to go all out and use Overheat. It will lower our special attack, but we've already raised it so much with Torch Song that I think the sacrifice is worth it. I just really want to one-shot this thing and avoid being hit with Muddy Water. And because it resists fire-type moves, there's no guarantee Torch Song is going to work. And in fact, even with Overheat, Gudra still survives. And of course it connects with Muddy Water. Yeah, and you'll see here I just reset. If Overheat isn't going to one-shot anyway, we might as well just use 2 Torch Songs and keep our special attack buffed. Alright, let's try again. And I actually start with Berserker this time. Yeah, I know, that's pretty unusual. We can get a free attack with Fake Out. Now, it does barely any damage, but an attack is an attack. And while Lycanroc goes for Stealth Rock again, it seems to always do that, we can actually use Metal Sound with Berserker. And Metal Sound will lower Lycanroc's special defense by 2 stages. Then on the next turn, perhaps surprisingly, Lycanroc can't actually one-shot our kitty, so she can land a second Metal Sound. Now, Berserker does finally get KO'd, but that is fine, she has done her job. Out comes Skeledirge. Now, Lycanroc does big damage to us, but with a Shadow Ball and all those defense drops, we can take Lycanroc down in one hit. So Berserker softened this thing up for Skeledirge to land the fatal blow. Really, really good that we got rid of this thing. Now, Ortworm is no problem. This thing's a one-shot even without any special attack buffs, so I don't think we're ever going to have to worry about it. Of course, we can't say the same thing about Gudra. This thing is dangerous, and we're low on HP. There's only one way I see through this. We need to use Sing again and hope we get that 55% chance. If we get hit with a Muddy Water, the battle's probably over. Sure enough, we can get the Sing. With Gudra asleep, we can then Terrastallize and then start spamming Torch Song. We're just crossing our fingers and hoping that the opponent's HP drops to 0 before it wakes up. Now, that's not what we get. It does wake up, but I actually predicted that happening and I used Protect. Don't know why I did that, I just had a feeling. And so on the next turn, we can finish this thing off. And we've got a little bit extra HP. Then Nemona has a Dudunsparce. I'm guessing this thing knows a ground move of some type, so that could be bad. But with all the turns that have passed, Leftovers have replenished a lot of our HP, and the Dudunsparce actually proves to not be much of a challenge at all. We then outspeed and one-shot the Pawmot. Nemona's Ace is a grass type, and we have dealt with this thing many times before. And of course, it's a one-shot. Now, this battle may have looked easy, but it actually took me about half a dozen attempts to win. I skipped a lot of the attempts because this video is already running long, but the main issue was just figuring out the best way to deal with the Lycanroc. I did try using Oinkologne with Yawn and Sunny Day strats, but it ended up being Berserker with Metal Sound that was the better approach. So that is battle number 55, and the gym challenge path is complete. So there's one final battle to finish off the Team Star storyline, and then we can head into the endgame. And this battle is against Penny and her team of Evolutions. I remembered from my first playthrough that she starts with an Umbreon. Now Umbreon is extremely bulky, so once again I decide to go with Berserker and Metal Sound. We get lucky as Umbreon is using Baby Doll Eyes, which lowers our attack, but that's fine, Berserker's not going to be attacking. Her job is once again to just soften this thing up. So once she goes down, here comes Skeledirge, and look at that damage from Torch Song. And again, this is against an extremely bulky Pokemon in Umbreon. This is awesome. And as this happens, Penny is still wasting her turns by lowering our physical attack, which we're not going to use. We're a special attacker. So with the Umbreon gone, here comes Vaporeon. I'm guessing this thing probably knows Surf or Hydro Pump, so we want to put it to sleep with Sing. If we can survive this Pokemon with high HP remaining, I think we're going to win the battle. And in fact, we survive with full HP. And after this, all of Penny's Pokemon are a one-shot. Now this battle is actually locked behind the Clavel fight, but this one was so much easier. And yeah, that's battle number 56 that ends the Team Star questline. And that's all 3 questlines complete. But like I said, we're not done yet. We now have the end game content in which we're going to team up with Arven, Nemona and Penny and head into Area 0. There's a lot of cutscenes, a lot of dialogue, a lot of running around. This section is actually really monotonous. Every now and then during this walking simulator section, we will be confronted with a high level wild Pokemon. Now we cannot run away from them, I did try, and we cannot catch them. I also tried that. Would be nice to have more than 3 Pokemon, but not going to happen. Now there's 6 battles like this. There's 2 each where we team up with Arven, Nemona and Penny. None of them are difficult, but all up they're going to take our battle count to 62. We get to the bottom of Area 0, the rest of the gang stays outside to deal with the Paradox Pokemon while we venture into the facility. Even though it's Arven's mother, we're the one going in. What sense does that make? But for right now, inside the building, we have battle number 63 in which we face off against the final boss, a robot version of Professor Sada. Yeah, not Professor Sada, a robot that looks like her. Like I said, this game is weird. Now Sada has a whole team of Paradox Pokemon. These are Pokemon that have come from the past and are now in our time period. And this is the battle I wanted to save the rare candies for. Her team is very high level and I'm expecting this to be a difficult fight. So, like with most difficult battles, we're starting with Oinkologne and Sunnyday. Her Slitherwing takes our boy down, but it is weak to fire, so once Skeledirge comes in, he can one-shot it. Now Brute Bonnet is out next, and you'll see its ability activates. Protosynthesis, I think it's called. Now this ability increases the Pokemon's highest stat in harsh sunlight. You know, the same harsh sunlight we just put onto the battlefield with Sunny Day. And a whole heap of Sada's team have this ability. So we've given her Pokemon a buff. This is not good. Now with Brute Bonnet, it's a non-issue since we can one-shot it. But out next is Sandy Shocks, which honestly sounds like the name of a Jezebel author. But let's be real, by the time I release this video, Jezebel probably won't exist anymore. Anyway, this thing also has Protosynthesis. Now it's also a one-shot, so we're okay for now. Then out comes Fluttermane, and it also has Protosynthesis. And this thing outspeeds us. With its boosted special attack, it does big damage. So that's not great, but when it's our time to attack, we land another one-shot. So this is actually looking really good. Now out comes Screamtail, and yep, Protosynthesis, of course. Now it also outspeeds, but it doesn't do too much damage. I think Screamtail is more of a defensive Pokemon, which is probably why it didn't do too much damage. But after so many Torch Songs, our attack is so high, we one-shot even through its increased special defense. We are just doing so much damage. And now here comes the main event. Roaring Moon, and of course it has the Protosynthesis ability. I know, you didn't expect that one, did ya? Anyway, it outspeeds us and demolishes poor Skeledirge. It has Earthquake, so that's really, really bad. This thing has high attack. Earthquake is a powerful, super effective move. And for all I know, even if we were on full HP, this thing could still one-shot us. Yeah, this is a problem. So I tried this battle multiple times. I even taught Substitute, hoping that might help us out against the Roaring Moon. Just buy us enough time to hit that one move and take it down. But it doesn't work. Every single one of Sada's Pokemon can destroy the Substitute in a single hit, so it achieves nothing. So I don't have any good ideas here, and the million-dollar question becomes, are there any useful items we have that may help us win? And you know what? I think there might be. Just one. One item. One TM, in fact. And that TM is Baton Pass. Yeah, it might sound a bit random, but that Roaring Moon only knows physical damaging attacks. And Berserker can learn Iron Defense, which increases physical defense by 2 stages. So allow me to share my master plan and let's see if it can pull out the victory. So to start things off, it's Oinkologne vs Slitherwing. Oinkologne has one job, land with a yawn. Once that happens, we can get KO'd, it's fine. And once he's out of the battle, we don't send in Skeledirge, instead we go with Berserker. And we want to start raising our defense with Iron Defense. We just need the Slitherwing to stay asleep. Now we're able to get off all 3 Iron Defenses, maxing out our physical defense. So even when the Slitherwing wakes up, it's doing pretty much no damage to our little Berserker. And then we can use Baton Pass to swap into Skeledirge. Baton Pass will give Skeledirge that exact same max defense boost that Berserker obtained. And check this out, when Slitherwing headbutts us, it does so little damage that leftovers restore us to full HP. This is absurd. Now, our defense boost won't help us against special attackers like Fluttermane, but by the time we get to that thing, I'm hoping our special attack will be high enough that it won't matter. We'll destroy it before it can do too much damage to us. Now the Brute Bonnet and Sandy Shocks are both one-shots just like last time, so they're not a problem. And because we haven't used Sunny Day, they're not getting any buffs from Photosynthesis. Now Fluttermane still does a bit over half health, but we're able to one-shot it. We still have Protect, we can stall to gain back some HP, and even better, Screamtail's attacking moves are physical, so just like Slitherwing, it's doing almost no damage to us. The only thing we really have to be worried about is if it lands a critical hit. I think that will ignore our defense increases and still do big damage to us, but as long as we avoid that, we're fine. But yeah, Roaring Moon is here. This time it goes for Stone Edge, and it misses. It used Earthquake last time, which is a 100% chance to hit, but not this time. Anyway, we use Overheat, and look at this. Roaring Moon is a one-shot. We didn't even need the defense boost in the end. Well, maybe we did. Without it, perhaps Roaring Moon would have just kept using Earthquake. It's possible it only went for Stone Edge because it knew Earthquake wouldn't be a one-shot. I'm not actually sure. And just so you know, this was the first attempt using the Baton Pass strat, so it worked perfectly. And hold up, what's this? Yeah, we actually have one more battle. But see, in the true final battle of the game, we get a 4th Pokemon, Koraidon. It's the legendary that you use as transport during the game. We can finally use it to battle. Another Koraidon. Like, really? We're battling ourselves? Couldn't the devs have come up with a 3rd legendary Pokemon for the game? Like some time-traveling genie or something? Whatever. Now this battle is heavily scripted and I'm not even sure it's possible to lose. So I count the previous battle as the main course. This one is more like diarrhea the morning after. I don't know. But it is technically a battle. So that makes our final battle count for the game, no fake-outs this time, 64 battles. And I've left a list of the battles in the video description in case you want to see it in more detail. Now for comparison's sake, Pokemon Shield came out at 84 battles, exactly 20 more. And I gotta say, given you can skip all the random trainers found on the routes between towns in this game, I expected the number to be a lot less than 64. I was thinking around 50 or so. But I guess we have the addition of the Titan Pokemon, which does add up. And yeah, 64 battles with no random trainers. And I think for all of Gen 9's problems, that number really is a testament to just how much content is in this game. It's a lot, and that's cool. Also, for comparison's sake, the minimum number of battles in Pokemon Red and Blue, the very first Pokemon games, was 68. So it's almost the same amount. That's also cool. But remember, Pokemon Red and Blue, a lot of those battles are random trainers, they're not story battles. Now, as far as the run goes, I do have to admit I didn't enjoy it as much as the Pokemon Shield run. And I think it's because we were quite limited in the Pokemon we could use. For the majority of the game, we only had 2. And for me, getting to use different Pokemon is my favourite thing about this franchise. Now, I did still have fun with this run, don't get me wrong, but I do wish the game had more gifted Pokemon that we could have got access to. Or even purchasable Pokemon would be cool. Like a pet store, but for Pokemon. Why isn't that a thing in the game? Surely that would exist in the Pokemon world. Oh well, maybe one day. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please consider the usual things of liking the video, leaving a comment, and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. Also remember, you can get early access to videos like this one for only a few bucks a month on my Patreon. The link to that is in the description. And until next time, have a great day.